Hello, welcome to the Infinity Grid presentation. Please just watch this. It's maybe 13 to 14 minutes long. I promise you, you will be glad you stayed for the entire presentation. I'll try to be quick and right to the point, but Infinity Grid is developed and run by us, we the people, with the goal of wanting to bless everyone and allow more time freedom for themselves and their families. How many of you have been scammed? I'm sure we can all raise our hand to that, right? I believe all of us have the dream of becoming financially free and have all at one time or the other thought that we had finally found the one, right? Only to watch it fall apart for whatever the reason may be. I know it sounds cliche, but Infinity Grid is the exact platform that can help achieve all the goals you want to achieve. Now, Infinity Grid is a decentralized, peer-to-peer based, app-based smart contract that cannot be shut down. It's so much more than a gifting platform. In fact, this whole gifting aspect is about 20% of what Infinity Grid is all about. Now, why do gifting platforms fail? The number one reason is because the participants fail to bring in others. They lose interest, which causes the program to stall. I'm sure we've all heard that saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? Well, that is not the case in Infinity Grid. With our shuffling failsafe, it will ensure success and will sideline those who are not verified, which allow for all others to continue without much delay. Infinity Grid uses algorithms and many fail-safes, which will ensure success for everyone who is verified. Now, IG can actually turn a one-time only $100 gift into as much as $40,000 in gifts over and over again. So please just stay with me again for about another 11 minutes for this presentation. And I really think this is going to be eye-opening for you. So let's get into it. So Infinity Grid, it starts with you gifting a one-time gift out of your pocket of $100 to the victor, who is in the middle of the $100 grid. When you first come in, you're going to gift the victor. The victor is going to confirm you on the grid, and you start your journey. Now, you need to also bring in two like-minded people, which are called pollinators. Get either two friends, family members, whoever it is, but those two that you bring in, you want them to be active and you want them to be able to also bring in two. That is how the success would work. In fact, a good rule of thumb is if you focus 3 to 4 levels deep to make sure those two get their two, and then those two get their two, and those two get their two, you can assure success in Infinity Grid. But that's it. Just two people that do the same thing. They gift the victor $100. Now you're verified, and you only have to be verified one time. Now, when you come in, you start off as an pollinator. The second position is a scout. And then you move to guardian, and then victor. Now, you move all the way up to victor through your team, the team power that pushes you through the grids, which look like this. Or you could go from pollinator, scout, guardian, victor, with the 4 positions within the grid. And you could see that there are 4 grids. There's a $100 grid, a $400 grid, a $1,500 grid, and a $3,000 grid as you're moving through. So when you are done with the 100 of receiving 8 $100 gifts, you move on to the 400. Same thing, the 15, and then the 3,000. Now, what happens when you bring in you come in and it takes longer than expected to bring in 2 people? Now, this is one of the reasons why Infinity Grid differs, because someone comes in and they don't do their part, right? They only bring in 1 person. They don't bring in anybody. They just come in and do nothing. Well, they can get jumped, and that's what this looks like. If you look in this example, the first bee, the pollinator, has already brought in 2 and is already verified. Maybe you've been on this grid for a week and you're next in line to be the victor, but you only have 1. You are not verified. The pollinator that just came on, who is verified, will jump you and go right to the victor. So it's so important when you come in and get involved, the first thing you do is to get verified. Now the grid's split. Now when a grid is full, meaning you have 4 pollinators on the left and 4 on the right, the victor has now received 8 gifts from all 8 pollinators. The grid will now split into 2, and now those pollinators are distributed through the different grids, and it looks like this. It opens up 2 new grids, and it opens up 8 new pollinator positions per grid. Now moving through the honeycombs. When you start, you go through a honeycomb 1 and a honeycomb 2. You're only in the honeycomb 1 and honeycomb 2 once before you move on to the infinity loop that we'll explain. So the infinity loop is what you can just rotate through over and over and over. And it looks like this. When you start here on honeycomb 1 at the $100 grid. When you complete the $100 grid, now remember, you have received $800 in gifts. You now enter into honeycomb 2 by gifting the victor on honeycomb 2 $100. You're still in the positive $600. Then you also enter into infinity loop. So you gift infinity loop $100. You're still ahead of the game with $500 in your pocket. Now you need to move on to honeycomb 1 in the $400 grid. So you gift the victor $400 on honeycomb 1. You're still in the positive $100. But now you are on 3 grids. You're on honeycomb 1 at the $400 level, honeycomb 2 at the $100 level, and infinity loop at the $100 level. And you stay in infinity loop over and over and over. Now, when you are completed the first grid of honeycomb 2, the $100 grid, you now take $100 of that and enter into infinity loop 2, $100 grid. And it looks like this. Then you move from honeycomb 2 to the $400 grid. You have to gift the victor $400. Now, mind you, you're starting to really get income. You notice this? You go from the 400, and this is kind of your journey through this. And we'll kind of go through this super quick, but you kind of get the gist of what happens. You go until you are completely done with honeycomb 1 and honeycomb 2. And now it's just a continual infinity loop 1 and infinity loop 2 over and over again. So the infinity loop, you start with infinity loop 1. This is you. Then you enter infinity loop 2 at the $100. And then you re-enter into infinity loop 2. And again, it goes over and over and over. So now how much abundance can you create? $40,000 in honeycomb 1, $40,000 in honeycomb 2. Now, mind you, this is the total amount. This does not include the gifts that you do gift when you're going through your journey. But then the infinity loop is a total of 80,000. This is the continuous loop that loops over and over and over. Now, how can you maximize your abundance? It's by cloning. Now, when you are done with the first $100 grid, you can choose to clone your position. Now, when you clone your position, it does require 2 new pollinators, 2 new participants, but you don't have to clone. You can have up to 4 clones. It's also very important to mention, as you are going through in the honeycomb 1 and honeycomb 2, the team is pushing you through the honeycombs. It is your team. As you go through the infinity loops, it is the entire community, and there's cross-pollination. There are other participants that are on other grids, other teams that cross-pollinate and push you through the infinity loop. So it is an entire community power. But this is what the clones look like if you were to max out the clone position. There's honeycomb 1, honeycomb 2, a total of 40 positions. Now, the family tree, as you come in, you bring in 2 directs. That's all you're required to bring to be verified. And this is what it looks like. They bring in 2 and they bring in 2. Now, what happens when you bring in a third person? It falls on your shortest leg, but it is not a good strategy to bring in a third person underneath your referral link. A good strategy would be to help someone on your team. And what's nice about Infinity Grid is that you can log into your account and see everyone who needs help in your genealogy. Using the app, you can either pay it forward, that we'll talk about, or get their referral link. If you have a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th person ready to come in, get the referral links of people who need to be verified and let them sign up using their link. Now, pay it forward is another amazing feature that separates Infinity Grid. What this means is that you can now, after you're earning income, really good money with Infinity Grid, you can pay it forward. That means that you can now gift the victor and give that gifted position to anyone on your team. You can decide who you want to give it to. And now, you basically, if someone needs 1 or 2, you give them a pay it forward position. They're easily going to find someone to give that pay it forward position to, because now it's completely free to them. But they need to, the requirement is they need to bring in 2 pollinators. So now you have these mini marketers, all these people going out, finding 2, finding 2, finding 2, which just will increase the Infinity Grid community. But what's important to know about the pay it forward position is once the pay it forward position becomes the victor and they receive $800 gifts, in order for them to move on to the $400 grid, they now have to pay it forward. So think about this. You have a whole pay it forward community that is just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. It's forcing people to be good people. But then you have the regular community that's growing and growing and growing. So it's just a win-win-win. But once that pay it forward pays it forward, that label is off of their position and they move on as just a regular position. So what sets Infinity Grid apart? We have a digital product that is coming out in May or June. It is a third-party digital product that will blow your mind. This is about 80% of what Infinity Grid is all about, but I had to sign an NDA, so there's things I cannot talk about, but it is an amazing feature. It does have something to do with advertising. It could be a payment solution for us as well, but it will blow your mind. It's not going to require any out-of-pocket expense and no extra work to do on your end, but it could 3x your current income with Infinity Grid. We have the pay it forward position. No other gifting platform has that. The team power. This is what I talked about in Honeycomb 1 and Honeycomb 2. You have a whole team that is pushing you through the Honeycomb 1 and Honeycomb 2 until you get to the infinity loop. Then you have the community power that includes cross-pollination of everyone helping each other through Infinity Loop 1 and Infinity Loop 2, which is a continuous perpetual cycle that continues on and on and on. The shuffling. This is really neat because this is a fail-safe that's put in place that basically moves those people over to the sideline. And there is a certain time limit that they get they'll get moved over to the sideline. They can come back anytime they want, but they will get shuffled for those people that are verified. The cloning, you can clone up to 4 positions. We talked about that. That will 4x your income in Infinity Grid. There is only 1 profile per person because this is an app-based opportunity, and it's only 1 profile per device. We have a training academy that we have a whole how-to list of videos that help you get started. Now, are you ready for Infinity Grid? Just simply contact the person that invited you to this call and get started, and let's start blessing people today. Thanks for listening.